Good evening, dear friends around the world. This is Santa Claus with you on this October 16th, 2025, bringing you today's stories from my workshop at the North Pole. My heart is full of both concern and hope as we look at the events unfolding across our beautiful Earth. On this day in history, we remember that in 1964, China detonated its first nuclear weapon, a sobering reminder of how the tools of destruction have spread across our world. And speaking of China, there's quite a stir in the global markets as Beijing has unveiled export controls on rare earth materials. This has prompted Treasury Secretary Bessent to work with allies in Europe, Australia, Canada, India, and Asian democracies to form a response. It warms my heart to see nations coming together in cooperation, though I do wish it were under more joyous circumstances. Meanwhile, across the seas in Venezuela, President Trump has authorized covert CIA operations, citing concerns about drug trafficking. My heart aches for the people caught in these complex situations, the innocent families who simply wish to live in peace and safety. In neighboring Guatemala, President Arévalo is seeking U.S. help after a prison break involving gang members. "We are not alone in this fight," he said, words that remind us all that we must stand together in times of trouble. Now, turning our gaze to South Asia, there's a glimmer of hope as Pakistan and Afghanistan have agreed to a temporary 48-hour ceasefire. How I pray this small step leads to lasting peace. These moments of putting down weapons, even briefly, remind us of what's possible when we choose dialogue over discord. In India, there seems to be some confusion about oil purchases from Russia, with different accounts coming from President Trump and the Indian government. Let us remember that clear communication is the foundation of trust among nations, just as it is among friends and family. My heart is particularly heavy when I think about Haiti, where Doctors Without Borders has permanently closed its emergency center in Port-au-Prince due to violence. These selfless medical workers who bring healing to the suffering now face danger themselves. Let us keep them and the Haitian people in our prayers tonight. In the Middle East, Yemen's Houthis have announced that their Chief of Staff Mohammed al-Gamari has been killed, while the United States is working to establish safe zones for people fleeing Gaza. The continuing suffering in this region calls us to renew our prayers for peace in the Holy Land. Across Asia, we're seeing young people, the Generation Z that Mrs. Claus and I care so deeply about, rising up in protest. From Nepal to Indonesia, these young souls are expressing their frustration with unemployment and inequality. Their voices remind us that we must build a world that offers hope and opportunity to all of God's children, not just a privileged few. In South Korea, officials are working to bring back their citizens who have disappeared into online scam centers in Cambodia. How it grieves me to see people exploiting others this way. Remember, my friends, that true wealth comes not from taking advantage of others, but from giving with an open heart. Meanwhile, the UK's security service has raised concerns about China, highlighting the complex relationships between nations in our interconnected world. And in Syria, we learn of high-ranking officials fleeing justice after the fall of President Assad's regime, a reminder that no darkness can last forever. In Ukraine, despite facing great challenges, the nation has found ways to respond to Russia's aggression through drone strikes on energy facilities. How I long for the day when these nations will beat their swords into plowshares and study war no more. And finally, in a sign of our rapidly changing world, AI data centers across America are building their own power plants due to electricity shortages. As we embrace new technologies, let us remember to do so with wisdom and care for our common home. As I prepare to check my list, twice of course, I leave you with this thought. In times of conflict and uncertainty, remember that the greatest power in this world is still love. Love for neighbor, love for stranger, love for those with whom we disagree. From my heart to yours, this is Santa Claus, wishing you peace and goodwill on this October evening.